Right. I'm going to give everybody just a moment to get started, but I'd like to go ahead and say welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Ginger. I'm the Executive Director of Connectionology Seminars of America, and we are so excited about this webinar because it's a very important topic, and it's one that I think is going to help everybody very much today. We definitely want to encourage everyone to ask questions, but we're going to save them for the end this time because we've got a lot that we want to cover. So you can put those questions in the Q&A box, and we will be getting to those towards the end of the webinar today. But we have a really great crowd. We're so excited about this. And later on, you're going to meet our three amazing partners with HMR, On Point Legal Nurse Consulting, as well as Physician Life Care Planning. So thank you to them for being here with us day in, day out. Thank you everybody watching for utilizing their services. You will meet them in a little bit. And then of course, we do the big coffee giveaway at the very end. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to go ahead and introduce, for those of you who do not know, our amazing and beloved John Romano, who will be helping moderate and speak today. He's the founder of the Romano Law Group in West Palm Beach. And a very neat fact about John is that before he became one of America's beloved trial lawyers, he was actually a captain in the United States Marine Corps. He's also board certified, and he's gone to trial in just about every single type of civil and criminal case that you can imagine. He's also been inducted into the Trial Lawyers Hall of Fame. He's an author. He's one of the most sought after speakers all around the country. He's also a past president of the Southern Trial Lawyers Association, the Melvin Belli Society, the National Trial Lawyers Association, as well as the Florida Justice Association. But we all know that at home, John Romano, you are the vice president, because you've been married to the president, and her name is Nancy Romano. I know you guys are getting ready to celebrate your 52nd wedding anniversary on September 5th this year. And you also have 11 beautiful grandchildren, as well as your two sons, Eric and Todd, who practice with you. So thank you for all that you do for your clients, for your law firm, and for all of us, John. I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, and you guys can take it away.
Ginger, you are amazing. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. And I want everybody to know they need to be thanking you, because when COVID started and you kicked off these webinars, you've been doing, for the most part, 2 and 3 every week all the way through. And we're into the hundreds now because we've done so many, and you are there working every weekend, working night and day, and always with a smile and a great attitude for everybody. And you have become such a leader in the area of continuing legal education. So thank you for all that you do for us. I am thrilled about today's program because we're going to talk about something that is so practical yet so important in our cases. And it's not just 911 recordings and how we use them, but it's how these and other, what I'll call affiliated types of recordings, which David is going to be talking to you about, help us, and how they can backfire. I want to get right into our program, and I'll just tell you this. I'm going to hold off a little while before I introduce Jessica Latour. Jessica will be speaking on a number of things and really focusing on admissibility and obstacles you need to overcome to get these tapes, to get these witnesses to be able to testify about the recordings and get all of that into evidence. But we're going to first go with David Ransin, a great trial lawyer for the last 40 years out of Springfield, Missouri. And he runs and operates just a fantastic law firm out there. David has gone to verdict in just about every type of personal injury, wrongful death case, and has really an extraordinary record, not only in terms of the way he handles and litigates and tries these cases, but in his appellate work and the appellate decisions, which have been nothing short of spectacular over his career. But he does so much for so many in terms of his community work and all of the things that he does with our Trial Lawyers Association. So I'm going to turn the program over to David, and he's going to chat with us. I'm going to let him tell you what he's going to talk to us about, but he's going to get into not just 911 tapes and their use, but also some other vehicles you can use And by vehicles, I'm talking instruments or items like 911 recordings. This is so important to what we do in our cases, and not just auto cases or premises liability, all of our cases. So David Ransin, thank you so much for being with us, and I will turn it over to you. David, take it away.
Thanks a lot, John. And I thank you and Jessica and Ginger for setting this up. Just a quick little word reason I got invited to this. I sent John some suggestions and he says, heck, why don't you just join us? So this has been put together in 36 hours by my extremely hardworking staff. I'm thankful for. I've got a significant motorcycle case going to trial with a pretrial tomorrow afternoon. So I may cut in and cut out if I get pulled away on anything. So an overview. I'm going to give you some descriptions and then some examples. There are many different uses of 911 calls. There's very obvious ones, but one that we used recently in a pedestrian fatality of an on-ramp. Our lady, unfortunately, was walking in dark clothes at night on an interstate on-ramp. And of course, the defendant that hit her, ran her down and killed her said, it's not my fault, I couldn't see her. No way I could miss her. We came up with multiple other drivers who also called into 911 and reported, hey, there's a lady out here in dark clothing. I saw her in time to miss her, but somebody needs to get out here. So it demonstrated 2 or 3 other drivers were able to miss her. Something we learned many years ago, and in fact, I don't have an audio for you, but I'm going to give you an example here in a minute. It was about 17 or 18 years ago, we learned that many of these 911 call centers begin the recording before the 911 call operator picks up. And what I've got here is I'm going to share my screen. And as we all get used to there we go. So we all get used to Zoom. Let's see. Well, this worked a minute ago, didn't it? Bear with me, I'm sorry.
Poor guy.
Yeah, we all do this. How many times
Right?
have we said or heard, can you hear me? Well, my PowerPoint doesn't want. There we go. Okay, I call this getting the 411 on the 911. And contradiction is what I just described. And that's something that you can look for, either corroborating or contradicting witnesses. And so the call begins early, and here's one as an example. Okay, I'm really batting 1,000 here.
For God's sake. Oh, for God's sake. It is 911, isn't it? 911. What's 911? You're not answering. You turn this on. Well, I'll be damned. 911 is not answering. That isn't a shit.
So I shared that one first because it's a little bit humorous, but where we found that out, and unfortunately it's so long ago that the audio doesn't work anymore, some problem with the codec. We had a Thanksgiving interstate median crossover head-on, and our client's father and husband was trapped in this car, and the phone's ringing, and the lady is describing, and I still to this day get goosebumps. She's describing, will somebody help that man? He's trapped. The car's starting to smoke. He's going to burn to death. He's still moving. Can somebody help him? Because, of course, the defense was he was dead on impact, when in fact, this is an excited utterance, an immediate observation by a lay witness describing her observations. So it can be very, very impactful. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. This is another tip we learned in a case when at a busy intersection and there were 24 different 911 calls. We only came up with about 18 of them. And we thought that there might be more. And sure enough, in some systems, and you got to learn your own system, get to know your 911 call center, we found out that some of them rolled over to neighboring systems. I call this drive-by witnesses. Don't just get the recording, get the CAD report. And you can see down here in the box was this lady who was an eyewitness that we would not have gotten otherwise. And it recorded her caller ID and her name and where she was. So kind of borrowing from Paul Harvey, the rest of the story, this is a very, very helpful technique. When the initial call goes into 911 and the recording starts, you know, the phone call beginning and ringing, then the EMS staff will transfer or conference in a triage nurse. The triage nurse is at the hospital, and once that three-way call is connected and 911 confirms that the other leg of the conference call is good, the call drops. Our paralegal Jessica Latour worked really hard on a very tragic death case and found that the hospital was keeping these recordings. This case, this is kind of long, but it's a fire, electrical fire. The window air conditioning unit was nailed in, and toward the end, you'll be hearing not only our decedent, but also his dog. This is 10 minutes. It's kind of tough, but I'll play this for you.
Call started on Friday, October 12, 2012 at 12 hours 32 minutes and 34 seconds.
Do you have an emergency?
Yeah, I'm on 1300 West Walnut Street. Fire in my house. I cannot get out. I'm on the second floor.
Yeah, okay, are you in the house?
I'm in the house right now.
Okay, and you can't get out?
Yeah, smoke everywhere.
John, I've got a guy that's trapped in that house. He's on the second floor. I've got him on the phone. Okay, is it full of smoke?
Full of smoke.
Okay, can you get down on the floor, get as low as you can if you can't get out?
Okay, I will.
Huh?
I will. You still on the phone with me?
What room are you in?
I'm on the second floor.
Second floor, but what side of the house? Like east, west, north, south side of the house? Huh?
West side of the house.
How many other people are with you? Just you?
Just me and my dog right now.
Okay, are you both in that room?
Yes.
Can I tell them to open a window? Okay, is there a window in that room?
I got the air conditioner on right now. I got a window model.
You got a window unit in there?
Yeah.
Is that the only window you got?
Yeah, it's the only window I got.
Are you able to shove it out?
Actually, I got it. It's in my face right now. I'm blowing the air conditioner in my face.
You got the air conditioner blowing into your face?
Yeah.
Are you able to tell me what room, though, it's in, like a north, south, east, or west half room of that house?
I think it's upstairs.
Well, I know it's upstairs, but so if they get in there, they're going to have to find you. What side of the house are you on?
West side.
The what?
The west side.
The west side?
Yes, sir.
West side. John? Are you still there?
Still here.
Okay, are you able to breathe?
Yes.
And there's no one else in the house?
I don't know.
Well, do you live there with anyone?
Yes.
How many other people?
6 others.
6?
Yeah.
But do you know if they were home or not?
I don't know.
Six people live in the house, John, but he doesn't know if anyone else is there. He's got a dog with him. Is that dog vicious or anything? Can you push the window conditioner out of the... Can you push it out to get air? Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Push it. Get the air conditioner out. Just push it out.
I tried. I'm weak right now.
Is there anything you can just break part of the window out with?
No.
Huh?
No.
You don't have anything in there at all? John, did we get an ambulance on the way? I think they're there right now, okay?
Okay.
You don't have anything you can break that top window out with? Can you hear me? Okay, I think we've got people there, okay? Just hang on. How bad's the smoke in there? Are you there?
I can't breathe.
Okay, I understand. You're gonna have to. You got to get that air conditioner out of the window. Anything at all to break the window. Nothing. There's like a lamp, anything to throw into that window. He can't breathe. He's getting ready to pass out.
I can't.
He can't breathe. He says he has nothing to break out the window, and he's got the air conditioner. Which one? Huh?
I can't breathe.
The one, the fire in the house John has at Fort Walnut, or... Yeah, second floor. You don't have anything you can throw out that window to break it?
No.
And you can't push the air conditioner out?
The room is dark.
You're in the dark?
I can't see nothing.
What? But do you know where the air conditioner's at?
Yes.
Okay, stay at that air conditioner so we know where you are at. Just push as hard as you can on that thing to get it out. Just push as hard as you can.
It's nailed into the window.
It's nailed to the window?
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't have anything at all you can throw out like through the window to break it?
No.
Okay, you just down the line with me. Don't give up. We're there. Is the air conditioner still on?
It's off now.
Did you turn it off? The power must have went out.
It cut off.
Okay, are you down on the floor, though? Are you laying down so you can get to...
Yeah.
Just lay down on the floor.
I can't breathe.
I understand that. We've got help there. Just stay with me.
I can't breathe.
I understand.
Oh, God. I can't
Tell them to look
breathe.
for that air conditioner. There's a window unit.
Help! Help! I can't breathe.
I understand, and we've got people there. They are there.
Please help me.
We're there to help you. The fire department is there.
Please don't forgive me. Can't think of no.
He says there's a window air conditioner.
Lord, help me. Come back.
Yes.
I want
They're there, okay? They're outside. They're trying to get everything set up.
It's a long 10 minutes for a jury to listen to. And sadly, for the protection of the fire department, they had to cut all power to the house before they could enter, which of course killed his source of air from the air conditioner. These will get shorter. This was a case where a young man got caught between a backing truck and a trailer and was literally pushed actually all the way up on top of this fifth wheel. It happened at work, so there's only one call. The defense was he was killed immediately. This is the area where it happened, and this is the truck. This is that morning. And I'm going to play a selected portion. First, there was about a 3-minute 911 call, then the hospital triage. And this is the one that our paralegal Jessica found that I believe you'll see why it's so important on pain and suffering, whether this poor fella, he eventually died, of course, but whether he was alive or not when he was crushed. This is several minutes into the nurse triage call after several minutes of a prior 911.
How old is this person? Do you know who it is?
Not 19. They said his chest was crushed. Our safety director said he don't want to do compression.
Well,
When he was breathing,
he is breathing. Okay.
It's labored.
Okay. If he has breathing, then don't do compressions. Okay.
What did they say about compression? They said if he's breathing at all, don't do compression.
Right. Just do not move him around anymore at all, okay?
We'll not move him.
Try to cover him up or try to keep something.
We got some blankets on him.
Okay. All right. Do you have, aside from the first responder, do you have a medical person on site?
Do we have a medical person on site? We could have a company nurse.
Okay. And you say he was smashed between two vehicles, a semi and what else?
We're backing up a semi, and he stepped in between the trailer and the semi, and it caught him at about chest high and smashed him.
Okay.
It pinched him in between the semi and the trailer.
And you said there's blood coming from his ears?
Yes.
Okay. Is the nurse out there with him now?
They're going to get the nurse right now.
Okay. Is he breathing now still?
He's still breathing, but it's labored.
Okay. All right. Well, just as long as he's breathing. And you're in the west yard?
The west yard out here on Chestnut. It's right at Chestnut Street.
It's right at Chestnut Street.
So you'll have to come in on Phelps Street and turn into the gate.
Come in, Phelps. Off of Kansas?
Yes.
Can they have somebody, can you see if they can have somebody down there to direct them where to go?
Yes, we can have somebody down there
Okay.
to direct them where they come in at.
Okay.
They want somebody out by the gate to direct them in here.
Does he have any serious bleeding anywhere else that you can tell?
Not that I can tell anywhere.
Okay. Okay. I want you guys to keep a close eye on him. Keep watching his breathing and see how many times he is breathing. Count his breathing for me, okay?
Okay.
Tell them to watch and count how his breathing.
Hey, can you watch and see how much he's breathing? Count his breathing. It's sporadic.
Okay, well, count it. Count it, because we need to know how sporadic. If they'll count it, I would like to hear them, or you can tell me.
About every 5 seconds, he's taking about 2 breaths.
Okay, well, have them holler out and count, and I'm going to listen. You tell me also. I'm going to time how many. Okay?
Do right now, repeat that.
Tell them to count out loud every time he takes a breath, and I'm going to time it here. Okay?
Count out loud every time he takes a breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Okay.
8, 9, 10.
Okay, tell him he's good.
So I'm eating up my time. Sorry, John and Jessica. Clearly, that's 8 minutes after the 911 call, and the defense was claiming he was dead immediately. This is a fallen home after carpet cleaning in an area that was not supposed to be cleaned, and the issue was how it happened. In the triage call, the husband is talking to the nurse and describes what happened. Well, get my mouse.
What caused her to fall?
She stepped on a tile floor from a recently shampooed carpet. And
Okay.
her feet went out from underneath her.
Okay. Very.
So there's the husband just candidly right at the scene minutes later telling him what happened. This next one was an incredibly tragic case. We resolved it on the civil side a number of years ago. It went through the criminal system, and the defendant driver was convicted by a jury of murder 1. there was a fender bender, and our decedent got out of her car to look and was standing between the two cars and stopped traffic and got on the 911 call and was pinched and then knocked down, run over, and drugged for a distance until citizens came to the rescue and trapped her in her vehicle here.
Call started on Tuesday, November 20th, 2018 at 17 hours 13 minutes and 11 seconds.
You better.
911, where's your emergency?
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
What's happening? What's happening? Ma'am? Ma'am? Yeah? Hello?
Call started on Tuesday.
So I've got some documents here. They're pretty standard stuff. Ginger said she'd make them available to anybody who wants them. We've used subpoenas to obtain the records. We had a fight with the hospital the very first time. They claimed that they were not medical records. I prevailed by convincing them that the sole purpose of the triage call was to obtain pre-admission medical information, sometimes directly from the patient, in order to assist and prepare the emergency responders, the paramedics, as well as the emergency department. And we broke through that, and we now get them pretty routinely, but we still require a subpoena. We've had to notice video recorded depositions to obtain those records, and the basic cover letter attempting to get those. So basically, folks, thank you very much. Burned up my whole 30 minutes. I wish you all the very best. I thank John and Jessica again for inviting me to this, and my staff for putting it together on extremely short notice. Don't just think in the box when it comes to 911 calls. There's a lot of beneficial and creative ways you can use these.
David, that was terrific. Thank you so much. And thank you for putting all of that together on such short notice for us. But I can't wait to have you back more to talk about some of the other items that police gather, that EMTs gather, that are in the nature of recorded information other than medical records. But thank you again. That was terrific, and just great having you with us. Ginger, I'll turn it over to you for our sponsors, and then we're going to move forward, and we're going to talk about how to get these things into evidence and how to use them next Monday morning when you get back to your office. Ginger?
Oh, absolutely. And I see there's some great questions that are also coming in, you guys. We're going to be saving those towards the end of the presentation just to save with a little bit of our time. But I wanted to let you know that we are going to introduce real quickly two of our incredible partners. And one of them is Laura with HMR, who we love working with. And she's going to share with you guys a little bit more about what they specialize in. But all I can tell you is they do a great job over there. Hi, Laura.
Hey, that's great, Ginger. Thank you. That was such an interesting presentation so far. So at HMR Servicing, we are working across the country nationwide to help personal injury plaintiffs. We have three programs, really. We have our medical funding, we have pre-settlement funding, as well as our newest program, which is our case cost funding program. We offer these programs, and really how it works is we have an interactive case background at hmrservicing.com. That's really the first step. This is kind of a seamless way to get your information to us about your case. I hear from attorneys all the time that they, of course, are concerned with information that can be discovered So if you go to this website to our website, you're able to give us the information regarding your case, as well as documentation. I know we're looking at these clips. These are the types of things that could be uploaded without the risk of them somehow being discovered in an email. So it's really interesting to me. We do receive these things all the time at HMR Servicing. Initial consultations, once we have the case approved, it usually takes about 72 hours before we can look at getting that first medical consult approved. So we do try to work very quickly depending on what your claimant's medical needs are. Usually it's an initial consultation or something that's just going to start with medical care. Maybe it's an ortho consult, or maybe it's physical therapy, something that's a little bit more minor. If it's a serious case need, more of a surgical need, or something more involved and complex, then we have a little bit more underwriting that would take place. But having a case background process allows for consistency and the best understanding of your case early on, so that we're ready to do whatever is needed as the case progresses along the way. A really good example of this is a case that I had recently where we were being asked to fund just a little bit of therapy. This individual had witnessed a horrific accident and really just needed some PTSD, maybe some minor therapy. And we were looking at about a $5,000 pre-settlement fund. After we started helping this individual, it really ramped up. And because we had all of the information early on, we were able to work with him as his case needs progressed. And he ended up having a full bill of $500,000 in PTSD therapy. So it was a very unique case, and that's why we have the process that we have. So our home office is always available for questions that you might have, and we just hope that we have a chance to assist you with any of your claimant's needs. Thank you.
Laura, that was terrific. Thank you so much. Great presentation. And Laura, thank you to HMR. You all have been right there with us, helping to sponsor these webinars and seminars from the start, and we couldn't do this without you. But with HMR, I want everybody to know my firm, we've been working with HMR for years. You all do great work. And what I like is you don't just come in and say yes or no, we'll fund it or we won't fund it. You truly vet. You spend time assessing and evaluating the case, the lawyer, the law firm, the client, to make sure that the right decision's being made. And when you do that, it ends up better for the client, better for the lawyers and the law firm, better for HMR, better for everybody. So I can't thank you enough for the great work you all do at HMR.
Thank you for that. That's wonderful, John. You really nailed it there.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And Laura, just a reminder, please put your information in the chat box so that way everybody can stay in touch with you. And again, thanks for all that you guys do over there. We appreciate it.
Will do. Thank you.
And now I'm very excited, you guys, to bring in Bob with Physician Life Care Planning. And he's going to share with you guys a little bit more about what they specialize in. But I can tell you, I think they've got over 85 different physicians and experts all over the country. So they're constantly out there doing great work. Bob, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit more about what you guys do.
Thank you, Ginger. Good to see you, John. Bob Caracciolo with Physician Life Care Planning. Physician Life Care Planning is a full-service nationwide provider of damages valuation services, specializing in compensatory economic damages, which includes future medical damages, loss of earnings capacity, and loss of household services. We're different in that all of our life care planners are practicing medical doctors who are board certified in physical medicine and rehabilitation, which means they have the capacity to independently formulate and defend medical opinions regarding a subject's diagnostic conditions, disabilities, and future medical requirements. We offer a standard 8 to 10 week turnaround with expedite services available. We currently have, like Ginger indicated, we have 85 physiatrist life care planners in 45 states. Many of our doctors have board subspecialties, whether it's brain injury medicine, spinal cord injuries, pediatrics. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak here. This is a great organization, and I look forward to speaking with you. I'll put my information in the chat box. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Great words there that you're sharing with us. I have to tell you this, though. Oddly enough, just this morning, I had a video conference call with a physician, physiatrist, life care planner. And the life care planner not only made suggestions on certain steps we can take that will help the client get better, help him get cured, which is ultimately what we all want. But the physician life care planner also said it would really help if, in addition to whatever else you're doing, you take the deposition of this person and this person, because I want those transcripts to be able to read and include as a part of what I am reporting on in this case. And that is what I want in a working relationship. At Physicians Life Care Planners, that's what you give us. Your folks are always timely, they are responsive, they work hard, the reports are sensational, and they come across as very credible and truthful witnesses. And so we love working with Physician Life Care Planners, and I can't thank you enough for what you're doing to help us here at Connectionology Seminars of America. Thank you, Bob.
Great. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you again so much, Bob, and be sure to add your information in the chat as well. And keep up the great work. We appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you.
All right, John and Jessica, back to you guys.
Well, we are ready to go. And I want to tell you about Jessica, and then we're going to roll into some things that will be steps and points and key things you need to do with 911 tapes. Jessica Latour, we got a gift from God, as I tell people, when about a year ago, she came to work with us at our firm, and she is a marvelous, magnificent young lawyer. She was a prosecutor for several years, and then went with basically a larger insurance defense law firm where she specialized for several years in defending medical malpractice claims and cases. Then we were fortunate enough to bring her over with us, and she is doing everything you can imagine in the world of personal injury and wrongful death cases. And in addition to being a hard worker and high energy, and all of the people around the firm just loving Jessica to death, I will tell you, she is also a mom of 2 little kids. So in addition to everything else that she's doing in the practice of law, she and her husband are running around taking care of these little kids. And I have always been in awe of what young parents do when they're also involved in doing other types of work. So you're going to be hearing from Jessica, and we're going to be going back and forth. So I'm going to go to a share screen here, and hopefully this will work the way I need it to work. And I'm going to, all right. These 911 recordings are game changers in your cases. Here's the problem. So many times we get a case in the door, and it's been pending for 6 or 8 months or a year or so by the time it is brought to us. And I say, did you preserve the 911 tapes? No, we didn't get them. Let's try to get them. We try to get them. It's too late. They've been erased. They've been destroyed. They've been discarded. Did you preserve the vehicles? No, we thought it was going to settle quick. You can't do that. The 911 tapes, you got to guard those like you're guarding the most important witness under the Witness Protection Act who has ever been around. So Jessica and I are going to go through some of these items. The first thing I want you to hear is this, and I'm only going to play a short blurb on each one of these. Within the 911 calling system, no, there are code words and language for people like you and me who, under certain circumstances, can talk code to them so that they know there's a problem, even though we might not be able to express it. Here's an example.
Sorry, got 911. I would like to order a pizza. You called 911 to order a pizza?
Yeah, apartment.
This is the wrong number to call for a pizza.
No, you're not.
I'm getting you now.
In his 14 years of service, this is a call Oregon dispatcher Tim Tenick has never gotten before.
You see it on Facebook, but it's not something that anybody has ever been trained for. We're just trained to listen.
He says domestic violence calls are common, but not like this.
Yeah, the guy still there?
Yeah, I need a large pizza.
All right. How about medical? You need medical?
No. What pepperoni?
After this exchange, Tenick.
All right, I think you get the point there, but there are certain times when that's exactly what happens. People have to speak code because there's somebody else around them that might do something to them. I'm going to give you a phrase that I first heard from a lawyer out of Miami, Florida. Authenticity is the first cousin of credibility. Your evidence to win a case as a plaintiff must be credible. That means it must be authentic. It must be real. It must be genuine. If there's any fakeness to it or falseness to it, the jury turns away. They don't want to hear it. With a 911 tape, it is the ultimate in an authentic sort of a witness. So we're going to spend some time with this. Another quick example on a 911 tape, you've heard things like this.
All right, what's the problem?
You have to help me.
Okay. Tell me what the math is.
Okay, 16.
Yeah.
Take off 8.
All right, I'm going to stop that right there, but you get the point. 911 gets all kinds of calls. Some are fun, some are funny, some are real, some are not. But we all pay attention to them. Jurors watch them. There's even a movie with Haley Berry. The name of the movie is The Call, and it's all about a 911 dispatcher. All right. I'm going to play a short clip from a 911 call, but I want to set it up so that you understand what happened here. A woman is driving on a highway, and a car, as the traffic is going very slow in both directions, a car pulls in front of her and taps the right front of her vehicle with the right front of his vehicle. The guy gets out, he looks around, he doesn't see that it's any big deal to him, and he goes away into a dealership parking lot. She's distraught because she's a very elderly woman. She's been in accidents. She pulls into the parking lot. Our client, the plaintiff, goes in the other way. He thinks it's a hit and run. So when he gets into the parking lot, she's on her cell phone calling 911. She needs help. He takes the cell phone. And then you're going to hear a little bit about what happens. What I want you to pay attention to is not only what the elderly woman and the plaintiff are saying, but you will hear a voice in the background screaming and cursing and threatening. Someone who later would tell the police, I never did that. I never cursed. I never threatened. But there's an eyewitness. The eyewitness is the unimpeachable 911 tape. So I'll tell you what he did. I'm going to show you a brief animation, then we're going to go right into the tape itself. This guy turns out to have been the assistant general sales manager of the dealership. He comes out, and as he's screaming, he then comes briskly, not a jog, but a brisk pace down a little rampway, goes up to the plaintiff, grabs him by the shoulders, headbutts him. When the plaintiff goes over backwards, he then hits his head again on the concrete. An eyewitness said the sound it made was like the sound of a coconut hitting a sidewalk. The case against the individual headbutter, that was not going to be the most difficult liability case in the world. The key was the dealership.
Well, there's a wreck at BMW on US 1. Could you send someone? US 1 where, ma'am? US 1 BMW shop. My car is there. What cross street is that? Sir, ma'am, what's the street here? I'm so upset. Highway 1. And what street? What street, sir? Read it. Highway 1. I'm a witness of the accident. Okay, US 1 and where? What cross street on US 1? North of Hibiscus at the
Okay, thank you.
BMW dealership, just north of Hibiscus.
Okay, can you put the lady back on, please?
Yes.
Okay, is anyone injured?
I am not.
No injuries?
Yes, he was.
Hello?
Oh my God!
Hello?
All right, I'm going to stop it there. You get the point of what happened. You can't impeach any of this. In that particular case, we made a decision to call right up front the dispatcher and to put that tape into evidence and to play it by showing the words and allowing everyone to listen. It was very powerful, and it should be. Why? It is authentic. Authenticity is the first cousin of credibility. It is real, genuine, just like I said a few moments ago. All right. Jessica, why do we need to secure the 911 tapes? What is this all about, obtaining and safeguarding them?
All right. Well, first, I want to thank you for the introduction, John, and allowing me to speak here with you today. This kind of goes back to what John said earlier. So the first thing in any case that you want to do is preserve your evidence. In the 911 call, that's why it says, like yesterday, 0 delay, because in when it comes to 911 calls, depending on where you are, it could be deleted in as little as 30 days. Some areas are 60, some are 90, but a lot of them are 30 days. And if you don't request it right away and it's gone forever. You'll never have that. The other thing it's important to do is spoliation letters, notices to law enforcement, including all potential defendants, insurance carriers, put everyone on notice. And it's a 3-way notice. So what that means is you want to send a notice through email. You want to send a notice through fax. You want to send it through certified mail for a signature, even FedEx with a signature. That way there's no argument that they did not get the spoliation letter. And when it comes to a governmental agency, it may not have the same effect. But if you're suing someone, for example, Disney has their own dispatch, their own emergency call line, so that if there's something case that you have with Disney, you go back, you send that spoliation letter. That way, if they don't preserve that emergency call, you can then go file a motion for an adverse inference, which in Florida, an adverse inference is, it says that if the jury finds that the 911 call has been lost or destroyed or altered in any way, it was within their possession, custody, or control, then the jury is able to infer that whatever's on that 911 call was unfavorable to them. So it's important to have that spoliation letter. Even without it, they should still have a duty to preserve it. And a judge should still find they have a duty to preserve it because it is key evidence. However, that spoliation letter just goes to support your argument that they had a duty to preserve it. They were on notice. And because they didn't, the adverse inference instruction should be given to the jury. As far as learning how to get them, there's a couple of different ways that you can request the 911 tapes. A lot of police department websites, you can go on there and it gives instructions how to request them. There's also several of them have portals. You can just go in there and grab them off the portal. Also, you can send a letter through email. A lot of the times they'll respond right through email and send the call to you. And also, if there's any question as to what county it occurred in, such as a border, if here we're in Palm Beach, but if it's kind of on the border of Palm Beach and Broward, you may send them to both of them. And typically what they'll do is if you send it to Palm Beach, they'll be able to tell you, no, it wasn't Palm Beach, this was Fort Lauderdale, or this was Broward. So then you can, you know for sure which county it is and make sure you get it from them. So there's a couple of different ways. If going to entire recording, so not just partial. A lot of the times that will happen, and in your request, you have to be specific. One time I had a case where our client, she was in a car accident on the interstate, and the tortfeasor was the person who called 911. It was a long 911 call, and he then didn't know where he was because he wasn't from the area. So he passed the phone to our client, and then she gave her version of events. She also gave the location and information that the dispatcher needed. But when we requested it, we didn't know how long the 911 call is. So we only requested a minute before the call, a minute after the call. But because we did a minute, thinking that they would give us the whole call, and a minute after the call, since it was so long, they only gave us his call. So it actually cut off, and we got nothing that our client had said. Luckily, we requested it early enough so that we could go back and say, there's more to that call. Please go back and look for another 5 minutes so that they can send us the entire call, which they did. So that was very helpful that we did it so early, because when we didn't get the full call back, we still had time to get the full call. Another important thing to get, in addition to the 911 call, is the CAD report, because that CAD report will give you all of the calls that were actually made. So even if it's just your client, there could have been witnesses that called in, and if they only give you one call, you get that CAD report and you'll know that there's 2-3 calls that were made. Not only can you get those calls, but then you also have the information of the witnesses. Because not a lot of the times the police don't get that. They don't get that information, and they don't include that in the report. So that will give you some additional witnesses as well. In that CAD report, sometimes it'll be redacted. So all you have to do is send a subpoena, and they'll usually send you an unredacted report once you're in suit. So you'll have all of that information.
Okay. Now, we're going to move into another short clip. An elderly man and his wife are leaving a restaurant in Central Florida. He trips over a mat where the edge is turned up a little bit, does in essence what we commonly refer to as a face plant, but head, and he has horrible injuries and is in the hospital for months. A rep of the restaurant initially tells us not only no mat, but nothing we were trying to say to them, they were trying to say it was not true. At the time, we had a young lawyer in our office, a great young man and a great young lawyer. And I said, within a matter of days, do we have the 911 tapes? No, we don't have them. I go, why not? Well, we don't have them. We got an investigator. And I said, well, let me just stop you. It is so important. I want you to leave. We're in West Palm Beach, by the way, about 3 hours from Orlando. And I want you to drive to Orlando. And I don't want you to come back until you have the 911 tapes. Because you know there was a 911 call when something like that happens, and it's critical. And we felt the most likely scenario was people at the restaurant are making the call. We also know 911 tapes get lost and destroyed and discarded. He said, and he said it very respectfully, could I just ask you, what is it that you think we're going to find? And I said, well, I'll exaggerate a little, but imagine if the call goes something like this. Hello, I'm the manager at such and such a restaurant. A man just tripped over our mat and he's hurt bad. And the young lawyer chuckled a little bit, signifying he didn't think that's what we were going to get. The next morning, he was in my office waiting on me when I got there. And he had a big grin on his face because he had the 911 tapes. And I'm going to let you listen to what is on this tape. It's a short one. Before it plays, this note here, message you send to the defense lawyer and adjuster: everything you do or fail to do in the first 24 hours, the first week, the first month you're handling the case, you're sending messages to the defense lawyer and the adjuster on whether or not you really intend to try that case or whether you're just trying to take some quick step to settle it. So listen carefully to the person who's making the call and what she tells 911 about liability.
Wednesday, March 18th, 2015. The time, 6:54 p.m.
Osceola with a medical transfer at 7973 West Ransin Memorial Hospital. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 7973 West Ransin Memorial Highway?
Yep.
Okay, just stand on my listening caller. Where are you? Are you at a business?
Yes, we're at the Kissimmee, Texas Roadhouse.
Okay, Texas Roadhouse. All right, what's the phone number you're calling from?
I'm sorry?
What's the phone number you're calling from?
I can't understand what you're saying.
What is the phone number you're calling from?
407.
Tell me exactly what happened.
I think he tripped over a rug, but now he's just laying on the ground. He hasn't really moved much. There's a nurse practitioner just talking to him and kind of keeping him awake right now.
Okay, are you with the patient now?
I am right now.
How old is he?
What's his family?
You can just tell me approximately.
I'm sorry. He looks. How old is he?
Okay.
How old is he? He's 70.
Okay. What was the last word? Okay. Okay. And is he awake?
Yeah, she's talking to him on the floor right now.
Okay. Is he breathing?
Yes.
Okay. So stay on the line. I have a few more questions for you. We do have help on the way. Okay. When did this happen?
It happened probably less than 5 minutes ago. Literally, like right before I called you.
Okay. How far did he fall? You're just walking a trip?
Yes, it looks like he tripped over a rug. He probably fell about maybe 3 or 4 feet. He fell forward.
Okay. Is there any?
Wednesday.
All right, I think you get the point of what happened there. And although I have messed the sequencing up a little bit here, and I'm sorry, you're going to see that I go through a number of points that I want to make about this, about your being prepared. When they know that you get the 911 tapes early and you are all over it, that tells them you are thinking trial, not some kind of a quick settlement or a cheap settlement. Be looking at these, and we're going to go through these quickly, but you noticed she confirms he tripped over the mat or rug at the front. It was a mat. He's hurt. A nurse is trying to what? Keep him awake. What does that indicate? Head injury, which is part of what we would be trying to prove later on. He is bleeding from the head area and the ears. And remember, they said no big deal initially, and
Wednesday, March 18th.
all right, prepared, a vision for jury trial.
4 p.m.
All right. One more, and then we're going to go into some specific things regarding admissibility. A young child is using fire starter gel, and a spark catches it. The flame goes right up as he's pouring it, right up this and into the bottle, and the bottle explodes. He ends up with third-degree burns over 68% of his body. Many lawyers think when you're dealing with a 911 tape, it has to do with liability. It may. When you listen to this and you have a child injured, and if you're in a state that allows a consortium claim for the parents for their mental pain and anguish when there's been a horrid injury to a child, such as Florida, such as Utah, and there are others. Or when you consider the physical pain that the individual is going through. I ask you to listen just briefly. I'm not going to play much of this. To the mother's voice and the child in the background. And this is such powerful proof of the truth. And nobody can come in and try to say this is not what was happening at the time.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that amateur. Yeah, my name is Kim Landis. I live on Blizzard Gate Road. My son is burning skin all over. I'm on Blizzard Gate Road in Norman. Okay.
All right, I'm just going to stop it there, but you could hear him just screaming out in the background. You can feel what she's going through as a mom. Get these 911 tapes, get them early, secure them, secure the vehicles, get out your spoliation letters. Jessica, let's move to the authentication of 911 calls and tapes.
Okay, so probably the easiest way to authenticate a 911 call is going to be through the dispatcher. Providing you can get them into court, they'll be able to get on the stand, testify as to that they were on the call, that they made the call, they spoke with the person making the call, and it will typically come in through there. Obviously, the witness who is speaking, it's their rendition of what happened or what they're calling 911 for. So they're also able to get that in. Depending on what is on the 911 call or who made the 911 call, the investigating officer, or trooper, or the records custodian. But typically, at least here, you can get the actual tape in through a business record certification. I think that's a federal rule also. However, to play it and to have it properly authenticated, you usually have to have someone come in and testify that they were the actual voice on the phone call. And then it could be, depends on, again, who was on the call, what the call says, but there may be other people that can authenticate it as well.
Okay, now you may be asking, what is that? Here it is. This is a Bible of sorts. It is a book called Evidentiary Foundations by Edward J, that's initial J, M. Winkelried, IMWINKELRIED. All you got to do is get in touch with Amazon and you can order it. It's in its 11th edition. Professor M. Winkelried from California now is regarded as one of the true greats in the area of evidence in the history of American law, law schools, law professors. He wrote the first edition, and it was all about how to lay a foundation. This book is so important. There have been times when I have actually in court, when an objection keeps getting sustained about a foundation, I go over to the books, I pull it out, I go to the right section, and I start reading the questions. And each time I've had to do that, I can recall twice right now, the judge then went overruled. So get this book. And when you take certain trial books with you to court, you must have Evidentiary Foundations by Edward M. and Winkelried. I'm going to show one more book, and then Ginger, I see that we're ready for a break. but we got some hot things coming. This item is a book, Making and Meeting Objections. All I will tell you, jump on the internet. You can go to Amazon. You can order the book. And Ginger, with that, let's go to you.
Fantastic, John. This has been so helpful so far, and I'm excited to see what you have coming up next. But we just want to take one quick break because I would like to introduce everybody to Dawn with On Point Legal Nurse Consulting. And we love working with this company, you guys. They do such amazing work over there. Dawn's going to share a little bit more about what they specialize in as well.
Hey, Ginger, how are you?
Good. Thank you, Dawn. And thanks for being with us today.
To see you. So I'm Dawn Montagno. I'm the program director for the Expert Witness Location Program at On Point Legal Nurse Consulting. We're a nationwide litigation support team, and we can provide comprehensive services to just ease things up for your team and give you support in your office. We can do this from the very beginning of a case with retrieving medical records. Once you get them, we can organize them, OCR them. This makes it much more efficient for the experts to navigate the charts. We also have nurses that can really help simplify the medicine. And if you're using paralegals in your office to do timelines and chronologies, I'm sure that they're smart cookies and can do a great job. Just not always the same perspective or detail that you might get from using nurses. So we have nurses that have decades of experience that can really go through and pull things out that might be missed by a non-medical person. We can also offer an analysis and summary of the case with system failures, red flags, possible defense management strategies, and we can help identify missing records and really maximize your case value. John always mentions our pain and suffering reports. So in addition to finding experts, we can also do pain and suffering reports that are done by nurses, and they can really help describe what it was like for your patient if they were admitted to the hospital and they had to be intubated, they had to have wound debridements, they had surgical procedures. And it's all just, facts that we're providing, but we put it in a layman's terms, so it's very easy to understand exactly what your plaintiff experienced. But listening to these 911 calls really made me think of something that I don't think we've talked about as much, but in addition to the nursing reports, we do pain and suffering reports by physicians, sometimes anesthesiologists, and who better to talk about conscious pain and suffering than the guy that's going to knock you out while you're having a surgical procedure and you're relying on them to make sure you don't have pain and suffering while you're having a procedure. But they'll actually look at your case facts and determine, even if there was a brief period of time before the person passed away, if they experience pain and suffering. And I have a couple guys that are really great. They're willing to talk to you and kind of run through the fact pattern before they even take a nickel and say, yeah, I think I can contribute something and really add to your case, or I don't think that you have anything. And just to give you some ideas on this, like we've had patients or plaintiffs who, have died during a dog mauling or a motor vehicle accident. And sometimes, with the dog mauling, it's kind of obvious what their pain and suffering was, that they did have pain and suffering. But if you have a car accident, you're going to look at things like, if they were run over by a tractor trailer and there was death completely on impact, then there might not be anything there. But, if you have somebody dragged into machinery and crushed to death, and they went in feet first, it might only be a minute or 2 minutes, but it's the most horrifying 2 minutes that you could ever imagine. And our experts can really, identify this, and it can really add a lot to your case. And listening to these tapes just made me think of some of the cases that these experts have done for us. So I love the opportunity to talk with you about your case. I've been a nurse for about 35 years, so I'm happy to run through the details, help you identify the best experts to use and how we could work together. So I'll post my info, and I'd love the opportunity to talk with you.
Dawn, thank you so much. I love your enthusiasm. And as you know, and you've heard me say it before, we love working with you all at On Point Legal Nurse Consulting. Yes, I do love those pain and suffering reports because they help us learn, as the lawyers and our staff, the case a lot better. But they're great in mediation. They're great with demand types of letters and packages and communications. They're great to give to our experts as they assist the experts. But one of the things you all do that I just really love is when we have you do a nurse interview of either our client or a key witness or even somebody who's medically involved in the case. The legal nurse consultant does an interview way different from the way we do it as a lawyer. And unfortunately, we as lawyers think nobody can interview as good as we can. The problem is we interview in a particular environmental world. The nurse comes at it from a different planet, and it's a totally different interview with information coming out that we can use that is so helpful. So I can't thank you enough for all you do. And I especially thank you for On Point's work and continuing to be there with us and sponsor and support Connectionology. But great job, Dawn, and we love working with you.
Our pleasure. Nice to hear from you, John. Thank you.
Okay, and don't forget to put your information in the chat box for everybody. Okay, Dawn?
Thanks, Ginger.
All right, you guys heard it. Go ahead, reach out to Dawn, stay in touch with her, and definitely save her information because they do great work over there. Thank you for being with us, Dawn. We can't wait to see you soon.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, John and Jessica, I know there's some more hot topics you're going to cover, so let's get
yeah.
back to it.
Here we go. All right. What testimony do I elicit? What do I want to bring out? Who do I want to do it with? Jessica?
All right, so there's a lot of information that a 911 call can provide during a trial. And the first one is corroborate a witness's testimony. So that means if a witness calls in and actually we'll go over how we actually get testimony in, so I won't do that now. But corroborate a witness said. So if the witness calls in, tells what's going on in the situation, what happened, what they viewed, then they get up and stand and tell that story, then the 911 call is played. It corroborates exactly what it says, makes that person more credible, makes the situation more real to the jury. It's also used to impeach a witness's testimony. So and I think John gave you a couple of examples of if a witness or someone involved, the tortfeasor, gets up on stand, says one thing, but it's not consistent with the 911 call. You use that 911 call to show exactly, just like a doctor's record. They say, when you call 911, that's going to be most likely going to be the truth because it's in the moment. A lot of emotions are flying. They're likely to tell a 911 dispatcher what's actually going on versus trial when they get up in the stand and tell something different. Again, extent or impact of injuries. So a 911 caller, if it's the victim or the person injured in the accident, they're going to tell, it's fresh in their mind. They're going to talk about how they're injured. One of the questions the dispatcher always asks is, are you injured? Do you need medical? So they're going to describe their injuries. And it could be, once trial comes, it can even be used to refresh their recollection as to what all they experienced at the time of the crash. Significant of crash or collision, same thing. They're describing what's going on, their impact, how they feel at the time of the accident. All of this is fresh in their mind, is fresh, it's at the time of the accident. So that 911 call is played and it gives the jury a version of what happened in the heat of the moment when the accident occurred. Again, just like extent of impact, injuries, they'll talk about their physical pain, how they're suffering, and it gives the jury an idea of mental anguish, pain. All of those go hand in hand because what they experience and what their injuries are usually talked about within that 911 call. And then causation, this is one where you have to be careful because it could go against you or it could go for you, especially if someone calls and says that, as an independent witness calls and said, I saw, car number 2 actually didn't brake and hit car number 1 versus car number 3 hit car number 2 that hit car number 1. So there's different things that could happen. That was just one example, but it could go for you, it could go against you. But it's always good to know what that 911 call says regardless.
Beware of the backfire. Just like anything else you do in trial, you've got to go through that 911 recording with a fine tooth comb, talk to the witnesses, because sometimes people will use these, not even thinking about it, something backfires. So you got to really watch that. Now, we're going to spend just a few minutes. I don't want to dwell on this because we are going to make this keynote presentation available to you so that you will have these slides. The next few slides go through the law and procedure. Jessica will go through these. A shout out to our great summer law clerk, Navina, who is here visiting us from the University of Albany Law School up in New York, doing a great job. And she worked with Jessica and she basically put together these next several slides dealing with the law. At this point, we're going to get into admissibility. And then we're going to hit hot tips in just a few minutes. But Jessica, take it away.
Yes, and thank you again to Navina. She did put these together. So 911 calls are typically considered non-testimonial. I'm sure there are instances where the defense can argue it was testimonial, especially if a lawyer calls after the fact. They know what to say, but anything that might sound like it's for purposes of aiding the prosecution in trial, that could be considered testimonial and may not be admitted if it's a 911 call. Arguably, it probably shouldn't have been a 911 call to begin with. However, there are three main exceptions. I know certain states have a different way of stating these exceptions, but so there's three. It's present sense impression, excited utterance, and prior inconsistent statements. Those are the three ones that are typically the hearsay exceptions that get these 911 calls into trial. So the first one just talks about a statement describing or explaining an event or condition while the declarant was perceiving the event or condition immediately thereafter. So it's when someone calls and says, I was just in an accident, the person behind me slammed into me, I hit, I went forward, my neck is hurting. That's more of a present sense impression. They're just giving what happened and how they feel. It could also be not necessarily after it occurred, but it could be something that's going on, such as the 911 call that John played with in the BMW car lot, where it was actually going on in the scene, and the woman was saying, he's on the ground or he's talking. So it's while they're perceiving, they're telling you what's happening as they're experiencing it. And then this is just an example of a case. It's an automobile accident where the 911 call was admitted as a present sense impression because it described the accident. She was actually there observing it, and the statement was substantially contemporaneous with the event. And those are the three main elements to prove present sense impression. So excited utterance. Now, this is not an automobile accident. However, it is an example of it's a spontaneous statement made under stress or excitement caused by the event. And this goes back to what I was saying before. They're in the heat of the moment. They're under stress. Most of the time you'll hear them. Sometimes they're crying, or they're just, we need emergency, we need help, stuff like that. You can argue it's excited utterance, and that's probably, especially in criminal law, but a lot of times in civil, that is the one that they most come under, because when people do call 911, they are usually under the stress and excitement of that event or that accident. And then prior inconsistent statement, we talked a little bit about that already. Again, John gave the 911 call about the mat, or get on the stand, testify, wasn't the mat, and then the 911 call was played that could have come in under prior inconsistent statement, because right there and there it talks about he tripped over the mat. So this is another example of just dealing with ice in the parking lot, kind of a similar situation. And then 911 calls can also be admitted for purposes other than the truth of the content. So that's the hearsay exception, truth the matter asserted. So this one just was rather to show a fight was in progress. Again, this goes back, it's another example of the fight in the parking lot of the BMW where the guy headbutted the other guy. This is a case that shows opportunity to hear the caller's choice of words and sensory perceptions as he observed the fight. But in John's example, you also heard the tortfeasor's words and what he had to say. So that could come in outside of those other exceptions as well. And then this is the federal rule where it says that 911 calls are routinely admitted as a public record or as a certified business record.
All right. 4 key reasons to emphasize using 911 recordings at trial. If I were going to say, take out your pens and pencils and write, this is the time to do it. However, I hope you've been taking notes all along. And I know we've already told you this keynote presentation will be available so that we can either send it to you or Ginger will make it available. Reason number 1. Unfiltered data. It's not coming through somebody else. Nobody's interpreting it for the jury. The jury hears the clean information from different witnesses or sounds in the background. Unfiltered witnesses never show up in trials. They're always, somebody is preparing this witness. Somebody had time to think up a good story, etc. 911 recordings, unfiltered data. Key reason number 2. These recordings are the birth of this, what I call original case information or data. It's at the beginning of the case when there's been no time to do anything else. And usually it's people who are, they're in a somewhat of a state of anxiety as they're making these calls. They're worried, they're fearful, they're afraid, they're not quite sure what to do. And they get on the phone. What do? They tell the truth. I can't tell you how many times we get a defendant who tells the police officer an hour later, it wasn't my fault, it was their fault. And yet when that same defendant made the 911 call, apparently he forgot and gets on the phone and said, I ran a red light and went right into these folks. Key reason number 3. Made within the time frame, seemingly eliminating fabricated stories. Key reason 4, and this is as important as anything else that we're giving to you today. 911 calls are cloaked with the authoritativeness of police and law enforcement. Very, very important. A persuasion point to take with you. Dispatchers, and I was thinking about it, are there any exceptions? I guess there could be, but I haven't seen one in any of my cases yet. They come into the court, sit down, and basically come at the jury on what I call a throne of neutrality. Throne of neutrality, meaning objectivity, no bias whatsoever. Very, very important when you can find such a witness. So, Jessica, we are there at the end. We do have time now. Any further comments, Jessica, before we go into questions and answers?
I don't have any now.
Okay. Ginger, are you going to go through the questions here? And then Jessica and I. David is still there with us, so all 3 of us will try to take on these questions. Ginger, if you'd go ahead and be the feeder of the questions, please.
Okay, fantastic. This one comes from Mr. Doug Beam out of Melbourne, Florida. He says, Jessica and John, you must move immediately to get 911 recordings. How important is it to conduct a neighborhood canvass to check on video or audio recordings of the event?
Jessica?
I mean, if that situation is available, I think it's very important. I actually had a car accident near my house that occurred in an intersection, and it was a hit and run. And the police officer went to a home nearby looking for anyone who has surveillance that might actually get footage of the intersection, and he was able to get at least a video of the actual crash. So even though the person left, they were actually able, someone eventually did follow him and grabbed the license tag number, but he didn't have it at that time. They later reported it, but he was able to get footage of the actual accident. So I think if that opportunity is available, definitely I would say absolutely. Because a lot of times, even with my own home security system, we don't save things for very long. So you got to get that right away in case it gets deleted.
David?
If I could, we do that immediately, even before we've signed up a client, because like Jessica's saying, this evidence goes away quickly. The obvious choices are banks, gas stations, and stores. But we've had many residences. And get on social media. There's something called Next Door Neighbor or something where they have just little neighborhood associated social media. And we've used it to debunk the defense when we timed it with a video and the data recorder of the vehicle. We've had reconstructionists, the cars going by, and be able to recreate the speed of the defendant, even though it didn't show the crash. And we've even had a airport fuel dump security video about 12 years ago pick up the entire crash from a quarter mile away in full color. So the videos are very important. If I could, I've made a note about preservation, and you're right. Not every resource will give these documents and these recordings readily. You do need a letter of preservation, but what we do is our local 911 center gets a great big Christmas basket of cookies every year. And we're personal friends with the director now. He's testified many, many times. So establish those kinds of relationships.
Well, that is great. I mean, just important information. And thank you, Doug, for the question. Ginger, next question.
Absolutely. And I think this next question was for you, David, from the beginning, but Chris was wanting to know whatever happened to the guy upstairs.
Unfortunately, he passed away. They could not get to him in time, and it took a 320-pound, looked like a NFL guard with a huge crowbar to pry the window frame out and get the air conditioner out.
Wow, thank you so much, David. And he was also asking if we are recording this webinar, which is yes, and I am going to make this available on our YouTube channel after the webinar is over today. So be on the lookout for that. We have another question that's come from Robert. He'd like to know, what is your legal obligation to provide a 911 recording that hurts your case and or client?
Well, I can answer that. If you have possession of it, first of all, once it comes into your possession, if the defense requests it, in my view, you have to give it up. Okay. I cannot think of a single exception right now. Somebody out there might be trying to come up with an exception. I never play hide the ball. Never. Don't do it. It's not right. It's not legal. It's not moral. Now, I'm not talking about some private conversation going on with your client or your co-counsel. But when you get information from a third party, like the folks that are obtaining and making and keeping 911, you have to turn it over. And I see all kinds of lawyers playing all kinds of games. And I just ask everybody to think of this. Think of how irate you become when you find out that a product manufacturer has been playing hide the ball. You want them to get the death penalty, you get so upset. You don't want to be on the reverse side of that. So always look at it and just say, all right, it hurts us. That's part of our investigation. That's part of what we do, and give it up. I would, David, I think that would be important for you and Jessica to comment on. That's an important issue. David?
Very briefly, that's exactly why we do this even before we sign up the client. I see too many lawyers sign. They sign over the internet, have runners, et cetera. I want to know what we're signing up. And I turned down a case a couple of weeks ago. A car turned left, and I do a lot of motorcycle work, turned left in front of my motorcycle. Well, when we got security video and the officers investigating dash cam, walking up and down the street, looking at everything, we were in the wrong lane. And what the fellow was telling me didn't wash. I wasn't going to take that case.
Jessica, any comment on this?
Just that I completely agree with you. And, you know, I have a criminal background too. And I mean, that's
criminal law.
Yeah, criminal. Yeah, law. Sorry, I'm not a criminal, but I've seen many times where attorneys hide evidence that hurts their case, and then they're just sanctioned and disciplined from the bar from it. So.
Let me just say this. If anyone out there is listening to this and you are thinking about an example and you're saying, well, I disagree with the three of you, could you jump into the chat room and try to give us a couple of sentences on that? Because then we'll tell everybody about it. I'm always open to listening. I can't think of an exception, though, of where I would not turn over 911 tapes that I've obtained. We got more questions, Ginger?
Yep, but I have not seen that happen yet in our chat box, John. No one's disagreeing yet.
They might.
I'm seeing all these great comments, though. I mean, Bradley Souders says, great seminar. Thank you. Doug had another comment about neighborhood canvas, which is the act of going around in an area and approaching people with a request for information. So that's a good comment. And then also Neil O'Donnell says, Jessica, John, and David, great program on an important source of evidence. Thank you for this sensational webinar. Thank you, Neil, for watching. And then same with Doug. Doug says, thank you for a superb connectionology webinar. Thank you, Doug. And then Chris would like to know, David, are you going to be able to give a sample of the preservation letter, which I believe is yes, right? You're going to send me a couple documents that I'll just share with everyone who's on here today. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's very, very basic. One local county we ran into refused to produce it. And so we've had to resort to threatening to file a suit for production. And we finally have gotten that worked out. But if they don't produce it, you do need to get it locked in. And I'll throw a teaser out there about John had alluded to future ones as far as video. I have a high-speed T-bone crash that a drive-by witness lived nearby, got his drone and began flying the scene as police are arriving and volunteers are directing traffic. And from that drone, I was able to identify witnesses that were not included in the report.
Wow.
So a little teaser of what we might, and I've been making a list of a number of other interesting developments like that.
Well, I think we're going to have a part 2 to this webinar.
I'm all for it. And I have another comment from Jay who says many folks have their own dash cams these days, and CAD reports could identify if not a listed witness. So that's a very good comment as well. And it looks like Chris also said, I have a dash cam video rear end crash that shows the plaintiff who stopped when he was rear-ended. And in the depo, she stated that she was going 25 to 30 miles per hour. So her faulty memory is evidence of a TBI. So that is perfect. And I'm looking to see if there's any more. Looks like Kim says, thank you for an awesome webinar. Thank you, Kim. And I'm all for part 2, you guys, because we have so much that we can cover on this. She also says, when I was still in pre-suit, that was one of the first things I did was request the 911 tapes and the body worn cameras from the police department.
Well, here, let me just follow up on that because that's an important comment. What I've seen some people do, though, is a case will come into us and I'll say, did you by any chance in the first few weeks or months request the 911 tapes? Yes, we did. So you have the 911 tapes. No, nothing ever happened and we didn't follow up on it. Oh my God. That's why we're lawyers and paralegals and legal assistants. We are paid to follow up. We can't just say, well, I left a voicemail 6 months ago. That's not what lawyers do. So that's a great comment that came in, Ginger, because it's so important. And the reason we must follow up and get those 911 tapes, because sometimes our letter might go on the edge of a desk and it sits there for weeks and somebody else is destroying the tapes under some policy. I'm done.
Absolutely. And then Barry just says, great job. Thank you guys so much for these amazing comments in the chat box. Looks like there was one more question that came from Edward. He wants to know, David, who was the landlord in the fire case?
Well, the identity I can't disclose, but the defendant was the landlord in that case.
It was, okay, that was a question. Okay, perfect. All right, guys, I don't see any more questions at the moment.
Well, this has been just really fun doing Jessica with you and David with you, and Ginger, you are always bringing the whole thing together by putting your arms around everybody and making it just so fun and enjoyable. I'm just glad we're able to do this. We will do a part 2. I will get together with David and Jessica and we'll figure out exactly what we're going to cover in part 2 and how we're going to do it. We'll coordinate with you, Ginger, but thank you, everybody. This has been great.
Oh, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And then before you guys go, though, I wanted to let you know there's 2 more webinars this week. There's one tomorrow, one on Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So go online to connectionology.com and sign up for it. Share it with your colleagues. And I will be rolling out a whole brand new set of webinars for the month of July. So stay tuned. But at the moment, we've got Ted from HMR who's popped in, and he's going to do the big grand coffee giveaway for us today, because somebody is going to win 4 bags of freshly roasted Ethiopia coffee. I'm sorry, John, because I know you want to win every time, but I don't know. Don't give up is all I could say. Ted, who's the winner today?
Yes, I'm excited to announce it's Bedford Douglas Jr. from Mesa, Arizona is our winner today. So congratulations.
Yay, congratulations, Bedford. All right, well, it looks like Ted and I are going to reach out to you after this webinar, but congratulations for winning. We hope that you enjoy the coffee. And don't forget, if you didn't win today, there is always tomorrow, right, Ted?
That is right, yep. 2 more opportunities this week.
Yeah, and is there anything, Ted, that you'd like to announce while we have you?
No, I think we just came off a great conference at Lanier, and so we're just looking forward to everything that's coming up for the rest of the year. So
perfect. Well, we love having you. Thank you for all that you do. It's always a highlight and a joy to have you pop in on these webinars, and we will definitely see you back here again tomorrow. Okay.
You just seem to extra enjoy when you come on though and give away the coffee. I just wanted to suggest that.
I love the caffeine. I love giving it away.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ted, for being with us. So see you soon, okay?
Take it easy. Thanks.
Thanks to everybody, staff, team, and sponsors. Take care.
And give me a little bit of time, you guys, but I'm going to email you the contact information for David, Jessica, and John, as well as all of our partners. Any documents that I get from David, I'll share with you guys as well. And then also give me just a little time to get this webinar added to our YouTube channel, because I'll go ahead and include the link in case you would like to rewatch it. So be on the lookout for that this evening. You guys have a great, great, great afternoon. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you, David.
Bye-bye.
And thank you, Jessica.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care.